because I still smell river water in my sleep.
He tells me about the body, the way men tell fish stories. Too calm, with the wrong details polished smooth. Then he asks me, "Do you ever smell river water in your sleep, Dr. Carter?" Before we get into the case file, just a quick note. If stories of hidden motives, dead ends, and unexpected turns are your thing, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell so the next mystery finds you first. Now, let's open the file. In Atlanta, Dr. Ayanna Carter, a black therapist with a spotless reputation and a past sealed by silence, takes on a charismatic new client, Malachi Price, the son of a megachurch pastor. In session, Malachi weaves confessions that echo a long-buried incident from Ayanna's college years, a night she has tried to forget. As a missing woman case grips the city, Malachi's stories begin aligning with news no one else should know, and Ayanna must decide whether he is a disturbed fantasist, a dangerous manipulator orchestrating her guilt, or a predator who knows exactly what she did. Torn between ethics, family expectations, and a creeping dread that the past has set a trap, Ayanna is forced to confront the truth she buried and the man who wants to exhume it. The first time Malachi talks about a body, it's raining so hard my office windows stutter with it. Midtown towers vanish behind sheets of gray. The vine outside the building taps the glass like a nervous hand. I watch him through the storm and the steady second hand of the clock. He wears a navy suit too crisp for our Friday afternoon slim tie, pocket square folded like he practiced. He's 28, maybe 29. The file says 28. Tall, handsome in a catalog way, dimples that show up like an apology. He sits with posture that suggests church pews trained him upright. "Being honest in here feels like playing golf with God," he says. "Every swing is judged." "We'll leave God outside for the hour." I say, "It's just the two of us, Malachi." He smiles. It's a smile that knows it's a smile, the kind you give ushers and aunties. When it softens, something else comes through fatigue behind the eyes, a long graced jaw. "There was this girl," he says. "She was supposed to leave town, but she didn't. That's not the point, I know. The point is the water was colder than I expected." My pen pauses without thinking. He watches the pause. "Go on," I say. "She kept saying she couldn't swim, but that wasn't true. People say that when they mean something else. She could float if she wanted. Where did this happen?" He looks at the ceiling like the answer is written in the Eve key lines. "On the south side of the river. Trees looked like they were praying. July, I think. I have lived in Atlanta my whole adult life. We have creeks, rivers not far. But the way he says river, singular and centered, makes my stomach pinch. And what were you doing there?" I ask. "Washing my hands," he says lightly. "You ever stand in water just to see if it takes anything from you?" "Malachi," I say, keeping my voice steady, "I want to remind you that if you tell me you intend to harm someone, or if you give me details about a specific past crime that could identify a victim, I may have to report that." His smile sharpens. "I know George's ethics," he says. "My father made me read all the rules before he let me come here. He thinks therapy is vanity dressed up as growth, but he likes rules. And you?" "I like the edges of them," he says. "Where things blur." We sit in the rain and the clock taps and the air conditioner hums. A strand of his tie has threads fraying, almost invisible. He tracks my gaze to it and tucks it in. "I dream about her wrists," he says. "Not the face, the wrists. How when the light hit them you could see the veins like ink under tracing paper." "How do you know they reflect that way?" I ask. He blinks, slow. The rain hits hard, harder. He leans back and closes his eyes like he's praying. "Because I still smell river water in my sleep." We end the session technically clean. He walks out with the same poised warmth he brought in. No names, no dates, no details that bind. He pays his copay from a fancy card and leaves a church bulletin he claims was a coaster under his cup of tea. I throw it away and then pull it back out of the trash. The cover says, in slanted script, "Healing is a house we build together." Inside, a photo of his father, Reverend Eden Price, smiling beside a floral arrangement like it's his child. I grew up in churches like his. I know those smiles and how they can turn. After he leaves, I sit alone and hear the thunder stepping across the city. I think of water. I think of a different night long ago. Heat instead of rain, the smell of cut grass and beer, the groan of a train somewhere out by the dorms. I close my eyes and breathe until those memories tuck themselves back into their drawer. When the storm breaks, the city exhales. I pack my bag, lock my office, and step into the hallway. The building is all glass and polished steel. Reflections are everywhere, so you always see yourself twice. Downstairs, the concierge, a white guy with a haircut that looks like it cost extra to be ordinary, watches me approach. He nods like a checkpoint. "Delivery entrance is around back," he says. I look at my tote bag, my blazer, the heels my feet hate. I give him a second to hear himself. "I own the practice on 6, I say, "but thanks." He reddens. Sorry, ma'am, It's fine," I say. It's not fine, but it's familiar. I pull the door open and step into air that smells rinsed. Outside, Midtown shines like it wants to be New York, trying too hard and getting the gospel wrong. I feel the rhythm of the day slide off me as I walk to my car. The sky is a wet blue bruise. My phone buzzes with a text from my sister. "Tasha, you seeing Mama Sunday? She wants to wear that wild hat, Emmy. She earned that hat. I'll pick y'all up at 9:30. Tasha, also heard your new client is Rev Price's boy. Behave yourself, May. Who told you? Tasha, Atlanta stays small." I smile that tight, city-small smile. The Price's church, City of Wheat, isn't my mother's, but everyone knows it. Billboards, food drives, an app that looks like a bank's. Rev Price baptizes judges, and the judges come to his anniversary galas. The choir sells out Fox Theater every December. When the Price family breathes, microphones show up. On Monday, Malachi returns with the storm gone and heat in its place. He brings an iced coffee with extra caramel and sets it at the edge of my desk like a peace offering. "I don't drink coffee in session," I say. "Then after," he says, "you'll need it with me." His confidence isn't quite arrogance. It's showmanship. He wants to be seen wanting. "I want to return to Friday," I say. "You mentioned a girl near a river." "I mentioned a dream," he says. "Atlanta dreams in water, don't you think? It's a city that looks clean and is always leaking." He crosses his legs, lace of his shoe pristine. He wears the same navy, different tie pattern that looks like tiny anchors. The first thing I do with new clients is teach them that therapy is a place for both truth and privacy. The second thing I do is learn how they lie. Not because I'm the police, I'm not, but because we all lie a little, to survive, to keep a story going. Some lies are just a tired hinge on a door. Some are an entire house of cards. "How long have you had this dream?" I ask. "Long enough for God to get bored of it," he says. But he seems entertained. "God is still outside," I remind him. "Bring Malachi in." He leans forward like he'll tell me a secret, and then he does. Not the whole thing, not with dates or names that would make me pick up a phone. But he tells me about a girl he once loved for her laugh that sounded like she was trying not to offend air. About how the church taught him to be gentle with women, and how sometimes he wasn't. About a night by water. About the way a hand feels when it slips out of your grip under the surface, and there's a beat where you could grab it and you don't. Did you hurt her? I ask. Hurt, he repeats like he's wrapping the word in tissue paper. I think I made a choice. I think she made one too. If this happened, I say, where is she now? He smiles with his eyes closed. That's your job, he says softly, to help me figure out why the ending keeps changing. That night, after the kind of day that knots between my shoulders, I stop at the grocery store and buy oranges because they are the only fruit I can peel without thinking. At the checkout, the cashier, a college kid with lashes like fans, asks about my weekend plans. I tell him church, brunch-y weddings, laundry. He laughs like a forgiveness. At home, I peel an orange over the sink. Juice runs down my wrist. I lick it like a child. I turn on the news because I need noise that isn't me. The story is everywhere again. A missing woman, 24, a student at Georgia State, last seen leaving a bar in Edgewood with friends midnight, wearing slip-on Vans and a top that says, "Let my lively enough to count." Her name is Davina Ross. They show her smile. They show the block where cameras caught her and then didn't. Someone is holding a vigil at the church on the corner with bad parking. Where was she in the last 2 hours? The anchor asks the camera, who saw her then? I hear Malachi's voice in my head. I smell river water for a second, when there is no river in my kitchen, only the sink and the orange and the evening. My phone chimes. A number I don't know. Unknown. Is it duty to warn if the sin already happened? Me? Who is this? Unknown. But what if the sin keeps happening in different costumes? M.E. Malachi, if you're contacting the outside session to discuss clinical details, you are crossing a boundary. We will talk about boundaries next time. Unknown. Some boundaries are fences built over graves. M.E. We will discuss this in session. Unknown. Sleep well, Dr. Carter. I save the number under do not text. Then I turn my phone off. I cannot sleep. My ceiling fan creaks. The neighborhood is quiet in that particular midtown way where you hear a siren somewhere at any hour, like a heartbeat that's not yours. I close my eyes and the old drawer creaks open again. The dorm lawn at Spelman smelled like cut grass and spilled beer. A boy in a powder blue jersey laughed too loud and then too soft. Nina grabbed my hand and said, "Don't look back," but I did. I always did. When I finally sleep, it is thick and heavy and unkind. I wake to the blue glare of a new text at 4:12 a. Unknown. We all fall down. I sit up too fast. My stomach caves. The phrase is a nursery rhyme, and also a threat, and also a memory. In sophomore year, a flyer went around after a girl in our dorm died in an accident. We all fall down. Someone scribbled in red on the bulletin board. Nina, loud, brave Nina, ripped it down and said, "We don't do this here." I put my phone face down on the nightstand and stare at the ceiling until dawn rubs light onto the walls. By Tuesday, heat has turned the city into a slow bake. My first clients are a couple in their 40s, deciding whether to divorce or renew vows. They sit with 12 inches between them on my couch, like it's a political line. He talks about her budget spreadsheets, like they are enemies. She talks about his mother, like she is a law. They leave with homework and tears and a joke that almost lands. At noon, Malachi arrives carrying a paper grocery bag that makes me nervous immediately. "I can't accept gifts," I say. "It's not a gift," he says. He pulls out a stack of composition notebooks, black and white marbled. They look like middle school, like spelling tests and pencil eraser shavings. He sets them on the floor between us. "Homework. For whom?" I ask. "For you," he says, "but you'll say it's for me." "Malachi." "It's journaling," he says. "You insist on it with others. You told that couple to write gratitude lists and take walks without phones. I want to get better at being seen by myself. Practice it. So I got notebooks. You can inspect them if you want." Make sure there aren't any bombs in there. Is there a reason you think I would suspect bombs? I ask. He grins. I think you know you're in a story, Dr. Carter, even if you pretend it's just case notes. Don't you ever sit in your car before you come in and wonder which part you're in today? Set up? Midpoint? All is lost? He's too attentive. He's a man who reads reactions the way preachers read faces for tithing. I do not look at the notebooks again. We'll begin with breathing, I say. 4-count inhale, 6-count exhale. You've got to calm the parasympathetic response before you can interrogate the thought patterns. Okay? He does as I say without mocking it, which makes me like him against my better judgment. He breathes. We breathe together until the air feels shared in a manageable way. When he opens his eyes for a second, the gloss is gone. I hate it, he says softly, surprising me. That sound. What sound? The train, he says, at night. Like a metal animal, like it's getting closer for years. Where do you hear it? In my room, he says with a smile that is not a smile. From my window, you can see the city pretending to be clean. But the noise from the tracks is always there, talking like a granddad. And the train means, time is too late, he says. It means I was supposed to grab something when I didn't. He stares at the blinds. The heat is a presence. The A strains like a choir member between keys. Outside, a siren draws a long line through noon. Tell me about your father, I say. His eyes brighten. He's a decent man, he says. Sometimes he calls decency holiness by mistake. He thinks if you iron a thing enough, it becomes a rule. He saved people and hurts them, and can't tell the difference because both look like applause. And your mother? Smaller, he says, voice thinning. Like she learned to fold herself in great ways. She taught me to play piano and to leave rooms better than I found them, even if the room didn't want me. She taught me that the way to be loved in public is to be somebody other people can stand next to for photos. Do you feel loved? I ask. He looks at me, and for the first time in all these words, he looks young. Not in the way I need. We end with practicals. I assign him journaling, but not the notebooks he brought. Boundaries, I remind him. The text was inappropriate. He nods and apologizes with sincerity that might be practice and might be real. He leaves at the top of the hour. I lock the door, drink water, wipe the glasses, breathe for myself. When I glance back at the chair where he sat, one notebook remains on the cushion. I pick it up with 2 fingers, like contamination is catching. The outside is clean. Inside the cover, in neat block letters, are 3 words. Tell the truth. My hand starts to sweat. I turn the first page. Blank. I turn the second. A photocopy is taped there. A police report from 2005, when I was 19. Fruitvale dorm. Female student. Intoxicated, minor accident in stairwell. No charges. No foul play suspected. Names redacted. I hear my own breath in my ears. I look at the photocopy and know it like a birthmark. Nina and I promised we would never speak about that weekend again. There were 3 of us. There was a boy. There was a staircase. There was a girl who edited the campus newspaper and had a laugh like she was careful with the air. There was the moment you can still fix it, and the moment you could not. It wasn't what he's implying, not exactly. It wasn't the river, but it was a hand on a railing. It was gravity making a choice when we didn't. The copier lines on the page wobble like heat. My door clicks. I jump so hard my throat hurts. It's Mrs. Boddy, my accountant, an hour early for her appointment. Her keys jangling like an old man's pocket, where she realizes she's the one who opened the wrong door. Oh, Lord, Dr. Ayanna, I'm sorry. She says, I meant Suite 602. It's fine, I say. My voice sounds like a stranger who has swallowed glass. When she leaves, I put the notebook in my desk drawer. I lock it. I sit in my chair and stare at the place where his shoulder pressed a brief mark into the cushioned fabric, like bodies leave shadows if you look too long. That evening, Tasha calls me while stirring something loud in a metal pot. "You sound like you swallowed a stone," she says. "There's a case," I say, choosing words the way you step on stones over water. "A situation. A client. I can't be specific." "Don't be," she says. "I don't want your license in my hands. Have you been watching the news?" I ask. "The missing girl?" "Of course," she says. "Mama has prayer chain texts for days. She wanted to go down to the vigil, but we told her she'd melt." I keep thinking. I start, and then I stop. I am careful. Always careful. Because once words leave your mouth or your hands, your control over them is a past tense. "You keep thinking what?" Tasha asks. "That people don't vanish," I say. They slide. They slide out of where folks were looking. "Folks with power choose where to look," Tasha says. "That's the part Mama's hat can't fix." We laugh because my mother's Sunday hats are a sermon all their own, large enough to shade an entire pew. Tasha says she'll bring sweet tea on Sunday. Mama's blood sugar be damned. We say I love yous. After we hang up, I go to my desk and take the notebook from the drawer again. I put the police report on my kitchen table. I fold my arms and look at it the way you look at a sleeping dog you're not sure is friendly, telling yourself it's a picture and not a bite. The next morning, I walk to the coffee shop on the corner. It pretends to be a library with its wall of books no one reads. I order tea and sit near the window. Midtown at 8 amidst a polished parade. Joggers who run like they're late to their own lives. Men in too tight suits checking their wrists for time. Women in sneakers and blazers, power carried in sensible shoes. I write a list on a napkin. What I know. Malachi is my client, a public figure's son, adept at performances. He is testing boundaries in subtle and not subtle ways. His dream is either rehearsed or something he truly can't unsee. The police report in the notebook was from my past and not public. Someone had to request it to copy it. He knows things about my life he shouldn't. What I don't know. Whether he is connected to Davina Ross. Whether the river is metaphor, memory, or threat. Whether he's a liar, a confessor, or both. I ball up the napkin and throw it away, and then dig it out of the trash with ridiculous care. Failure like a shine in my palms. Outside, 2 police officers sip coffee by their cruiser. One glances in, catches my eye, and nods politely. The residual heat of being watched too much, too little, wrong turn spreads under my ribs. When I return to my office, there is an envelope slid under the door. My name is printed in careful block letters that try to look anonymous and fail. Inside is a flash drive. I think of bombs again, because that's what the brain does in a world that tells you your fear is a personality trait. I get my old laptop that isn't connected to the office network. I plug the drive in. A single file loads, audio_001.mp3. I put on headphones. I press play. Static, like a shirt brushing a mic. Wind, water, maybe. Then a voice. A girl's hoarse, not screaming, which is worse. "Please," she says. "Please, I have class in the morning. I gotta give my presentation. I can't." A second voice, low, patient. "Presentation on what?" "Gender in?" Her breath hitches. "Media." "That's good," the voice says, with the smile that shows up in Malachi's eyes. "Let's talk about media. Who do you think will show your best picture, Davina?" My lungs close like fists. I hit pause. The headphones become enormous on my head, the way guilt does. The file name says nothing, which says something. I look out the window. The vine taps a steady, oblivious code against the glass. I press play again, because denial doesn't work if you don't interrogate it. The audio is 5 minutes and 22 seconds long. There are no screams. There are wet noises. There is a voice that hums a hymn under its breath. There is the sound of someone being thought about like a problem to solve. I take the headphones off and set them down carefully, as if they are sleeping. Ethics lines have bold print and fine print. There are clauses and subclauses about imminent danger, identified victims, credible threats. The world is messier than paper. The world is a body in water, a hand slipping under. I print the consent form Malachi signed on our first day. I look at my signature next to his. I pick up my phone. I call the number Nina swore she'd never use for me. Detective Marcus Hall with a PD, Violent Crimes, my ex-husband. The call goes straight to voicemail. His voice is weary and official. This is Detective Hall. Leave it. I hang up. I text him instead. M.E. Marcus, it's Ayanna. I need to speak about a case. It's urgent. He replies faster than he ever did about groceries or anniversaries. Marcus, can't take info over text. If this is about one of your clients, you know the drill. Me, I know the drill. I have something you need to hear. Marcus, I can be at your office at 5. 4:30. Marcus, 5. May. Fine. I place the flash drive in an envelope and write nothing on it in Sharpie, because that's how my brain amuses itself in panic. By making jokes, it hopes will erase fingerprints. I put it in the back of my desk drawer next to the notebook. At 2 p.m., Malachi is early. He stands in the hallway in that too-good suit, talking to Mrs. Body, because he can do that with anybody. Be interesting, be soft, be a mirror. When he steps into my office, he inhales like he's walking into a chapel. I like the plant, he says. I bought it because the tag said hard to kill. I say, we're starting with boundaries again today. I texted out of fear, he says before I can continue. It won't happen again. I appreciate the apology, I say. I want to ask you something very clear. The notebook you left behind contained a photocopy of a police report from 2005. Did you put it there? He watches me, measuring. Yes. How did you obtain it? Public records request. Why make it? You're interesting, he says. I want to know the person I'm telling things to. He says it like a compliment, a man giving a florist thanks for arranging his funeral. I keep my voice even. We're not friends, Malachi. We're not co-stars. We are not in a story together. But we are, he says gently. You of all people know that. Stories don't ask permission. Do not contact me outside session again, I say. Do not bring me items connected to my private life. If it happens again, I will terminate treatment and refer you out. He nods. His hands, for the first time, tremble. Don't do that, he says quietly. Please. You're the first person I've met who tells the truth with their eyes. You don't know me, I say, and it sounds like I want to be known in a way that annoys me. We talk about childhood hymns and what dread feels like in the body. He surprises me by admitting to panic attacks. He describes one in the pulpit once heart too fast, vision tunneling, breath like a fish, and how his father laid a hand on his back without breaking cadence and whispered, "Get it together, son." How he did. How the congregation told him later his tears were the Holy Ghost. At 3 p.m., he stands to go. At the door, he pauses. Do you ever think about how the city is built? He asks. All that red clay under everything. How you can pour concrete on it, but the clay remembers storms. I think about foundations. I say, I'm an expert in them. I know, he says. The smile returns, practiced, polite. See you Friday. When he leaves, my body shakes in a way I don't admit even to myself. At 4:50, Marcus knocks. He brings the smell of heat, old coffee, and the stubborn clean of his laundry detergent. He wears his tie loosened like a man who keeps trying to leave his day and can't. Ayanna, he says. The word is an apology. Detective Hall, I say, because I need us to pretend to be strangers for this. He sits and looks bigger in my small space. He always did. He wanted to live in a house with 3 guest rooms and sad crown molding. I wanted sunlight and an address people could find without calling twice. Those fights were years ago, and the bruise is a memory now. What do you have? He asks. I slide the envelope across the desk. He opens it. He listens with my headphones while I watch his jaw tighten and release. Halfway through, he pauses the audio and stares at nothing. Where'd you get this? He asks. It was left at my office, I say, anonymous. Is this Davina? He asks. I don't know, I say, and it is the truth that feels like a lie. Who left it? He asks. I can't answer that, I say. He looks at me, a look I knew when we were married that meant, please be who I need you to be. I feel the weight of our kitchen table, the time we divided records we both pretended to like. I hear the echo of our worst night in that one. We both said things we swore we wouldn't. He has never forgiven me for one of them, and I have never forgiven him for the rest. I can subpoena you, he says softly. You know that. You also know what the law allows, I say. If there is a clear threat to an identified person, if there is risk of harm, I'm mandated. I am not talking to you as your ex-wife, Marcus. I am talking to you as a therapist who is doing her best in a case that looks like a mouth full of glass. He runs his hand over his face until he smooths it back into a public one. He wraps the flash drive in an evidence bag as if the plastic could keep it clean. He closes his eyes for a second, then opens them like he swallowed something peppered. If this goes sideways, he says, and I find out you knew more, you'll do your job, I say. Outside, thunder builds, though the sky is mostly blue. Summer storms here are dramatic, like most southern apologies. A half hour after Marcus leaves, I lock my office and step into the hallway. It smells like cleaner and dust. My footsteps echo. The elevator hums up from lower floors. When the doors open, Malachi is inside. We both blink. Forgot my wallet, he says, lifting his fingers like he's caught by a stage light. I think I left it under the chair. I'll unlock for you, I say. We ride up together in a small box that suddenly feels like an accusation. His cologne is not expensive, but it is earnest. The panel shows our floor in bright orange. He watches the numbers with too much interest. You ever been to one of my father's sermons? He asks. I prefer quiet on Sundays, I say. Sometimes quiet is the lie, he says. Noise is the truth. We reach 6. I open my office. He stands at the chair where he sat and bends to look under it. He reaches in his jacket and pulls out a slim brown wallet. He holds it like a rabbit he caught for me. Found it, he says. Thank you. He doesn't leave. He looks at the plant. He looks at my diplomas. He looks at the window and the vine tap-tapping like a metronome. He turns to me, and as if remembering he should look humble, lets his eyes go soft. Do you think I'm a bad person? He asks. I think you're a person, I say. What you do makes you more or less dangerous, not what you are. What did you do once, he asks, when you felt most dangerous? The room shifts. The red clay under the office remembers a storm and gives. I swallow. We're done for today, I say. We'll talk Friday. He nods, smile returning like a curtain close. He steps into the hall. He is almost gone when he turns back. By the way, he says, voice bright as a brisk handshake, I like your old name better. It's more musical. My what? I ask. Comes out too quick. Wells, he says. Ayanna Elaine Wells. It sounds like a poem. Carter is a fence. The door closes behind him. The hall swallows his steps. The building hums. I put my back against the door, like that could hold something out. My maiden name is not on any public documents that would be easily found. I changed it the month after graduation. A childish attempt to seal a drawer. He knows it anyway. Atlanta at sunset looks forgiving on purpose. People go to the Beltline to pretend we all love each other. I drive instead to my mother's house because I need a place where the furniture hasn't moved in 20 years. Mama opens the door before I can knock because she heard my tires on the driveway, because she's that kind of mother. You hungry? She asks, which is a diagnosis. I sit at the kitchen table and eat field peas and a biscuit that makes my tongue want to sing. Mama's hat for Sunday sits on the counter like a bright spaceship. Tasha is there, putting labels on mason jars like we're in a sitcom about Southern respectability. You look thin, Mama says. Therapists always look thin. You carry people with no calories. We eat, Tasha says. You forget to watch her eat. I watch enough, Mama says, rolling her eyes heavenward. Ayanna, you have to forgive that man eventually. I want to laugh. I want to cry. I settle for the good girl middle. A sigh that says everything and nothing. Which man? I ask. The one whose mama never taught him how to say thank you without making a face, she says. Your ex. What other man? Plenty, Tasha says under her breath and grins into her jar. I look at the hat. It has a bow so dramatic it could be a character witness. Mama, I say, if a sinner repents, is it still a sin when you bring it up again? What did I tell you about using the Lord like a dictionary? She says, you pay your own fines. We eat in silence for a while. It's an old, good silence. In the living room, the news shows heartfelt footage of Davina's college friends holding candles. Someone sings off-key and beautifully. Mama sighs and shakes her head so the loose, silvered curl near her ear trembles. How that girl disappear when everybody knows everybody? Mama asks the TV, this city be acting like it's big. It's organized small, Tasha says. Power lines. I think of Rev Price shaking judges' hands. I think of Malachi humming a hymn on tape. I think of the word well's my name, a hole into the earth that holds water, whether you want it to or not. On the drive back, a train crosses the road ahead, red lights flashing 2 beats slow. I roll down the window and listen to the metal animal breathe. At midnight, I wake to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. I grab it before the sound can drill through the walls. A message from an unknown number again, but now I know the cadence. Unknown, we build houses out of lies until the roof leaks. You hear it yet? Mamie, do not contact this number again. We will address this breach in session. Unknown, you didn't answer my question. Me? Which one? Unknown, the one you swallowed. What did you do when you felt most dangerous? Me. Go to sleep, Malachi. Unknown, she didn't. She floated, did you know? That sometimes happens. People float back. I press my forehead to the cool window pane. In the reflection, my face looks like my mother's when she was younger and tired. I count breaths until I'm back in my body. I put the phone in my underwear drawer like that could muffle it. I sleep in pieces. Wednesday, Marcus calls at 8:15 a. It's her voice, he says. No hello, no preface. We had Davina's phone on a sound message to Mom. Last week, same timbre, same laugh at the end of a sentence. Our text says he's 90%. I'm sorry, I say, and mean it. We need the source, he says. Even if it won't be admissible, it will lead us somewhere. Ayanna, I will do what I can within the law, I say. Don't say it like you're on a commercial, he snaps, softer with apology before the echo dies. I need you to be brave. I am being brave, I say. It just doesn't look like what you want. He breathes. Tell me something. Anything. I close my eyes and see a notebook with "Tell the Truth" in neat block letters. I see redacted names that my brain fills in even if the paper doesn't. I see a girl's wrist in a dream and a river with trees praying. I can't, I say. Not yet. and I'm going to get it without you. He says, "You know I can. Your client is leaving fingerprints everywhere." After we hang up, I schedule an emergency consult with my supervisor, Dr. Shepard, whose white hair and extreme cardigans hide a spine made of legal code. I explain the situation in careful shapes. I don't say names. "You know the thresholds," he says. "Imminent harm. Identified victim. Right now, you have a past crime alleged and a current missing person that may or may not be connected to your client, and an audio recording obtained anonymously. Your safest route is to encourage your client to self-report or to speak in a way that names no one." "But Ayanna," his voice softens, a rare permission. "Watch your own countertransference. He's touching something in you." "He is," I say, because there is no use lying to a man who sees through wallpaper. After the call, I stand by my office window and watch a child in a Spider-Man backpack hop over a puddle and then turn around and do it again, just for the pleasure. The vine keeps knocking on the glass like it's late to something. At noon, I take the MARTA south to where the river widens and trees lean in like gossipers. I bring a water bottle and a lie about answering emails. I walk the path that used to belong to teenagers and Sundays. The air smells green and old. I follow the music of the current to a bend where a broad root juts over the water like a pier built by accident. A memory presses on my chest like a palm. At the bend, a woman in a yellow headscarf throws bread to ducks like an offering. She nods to me like we share a prayer. I stand and close my eyes and listen. There's the water. There's a train far off. There's laughter real, from the headscarf woman light and unbothered. I open my eyes because the world is still here. On the walk back to the car, I pass a sign that says, "Beware of sudden drop. The paint is peeling." The drop is sudden whether you see the sign or not. At 3, I unlock my office and find the couch moved 6 inches to the left. The notebooks are gone from the drawer. The plant is tilted like it heard a secret and leaned to keep it. I lock the door behind me and call the front desk. "Has anyone been in my suite?" I ask. Bruce, the concierge with the ordinary haircut, stumbles through an answer about maintenance and a leak in another unit. "I need the log," I say. "Of course," he says with his best professional voice, the one he didn't use when he sent me around Mac. "I'll send it." While I wait, I pull the flash drive from my drawer. It's still there, thank God. I put it in my bag like a pet that needs a leash. The email pings. The log shows a service entry at 1:28 p.m. from Allied Maintenance. Routine check. I call the number. It rings into a silence that feels chosen. At 4:55, there is a knock. Not Marcus, he would text and wait. I open the door to a young woman with neat braids and a badge. "Dr. Carter," she says. "I'm Detective Beasley. Detective Hall asked me to follow up on something. May I come in?" Her eyes are kind and sharp at once. She is my age when I first thought I could carry secrets indefinitely. I step back so she can cross. She doesn't sit. "We found something in the pocket of a sweater recovered near the river this morning," she says. "A card. Your card." My heart goes light and then heavy, a bad magic trick. "It's the old version with the gold edge," she says, flipping a clear evidence bag so I can see my name, title, and a number I switched last year. "We're looking into whether Ms. Ross had any sessions with you, or if this was planted. We need records." My hand tightens around the back of my chair. If she were my client, I couldn't confirm that, I say automatically. "Right," Detective Beasley says. "But you could if she signed a release before she went missing. Or if she is not your client, and this card was placed there by someone else. Or at the least, you could tell me whether you've had any contact with Malachi Price this week." The room shifts again. The red clay under everything remembers storm. Outside, the vine keeps tapping steady, asking the window a question. I look at the card in the bag. I think of Davina's voice saying presentation. I think of a boy humming a hymn. I think of a dorm stairwell and a promise. I think of my own maiden name in a man's mouth. Dr. Carter? Detective Beasley asks. 1 inhale 4 and exhale 6. I steady my parasympathetic response. I choose a stone in the water and place my foot.
We all perform.
The knock at my office door feels like a hammer in my chest. Detective Beasley is still waiting for an answer. My business card sealed inside a clear evidence bag. Somewhere under my skin, my pulse drums like a warning. I'll cooperate, I say finally. My voice is steady because I've practiced steadiness all my life. But I'll need to see a warrant before I release any records. Her eyes narrow, not suspicious, but careful. We'll get one, she says. In the meantime, if Mr. Price contacts you, call us immediately. She leaves. I'm alone again with the plant. The couch still moved 6 inches to the left, and the truth pressing like heat under the ceiling. That night, I drive without aim. Atlanta's streets blur. Neon from Edgewood, the golden glow of churches, the endless hum of traffic on 75. My phone buzzes. Unknown number again. Unknown. The river is patient. Are you? I throw the phone into the passenger seat like it's a snake. 2 days later, Friday, Malachi arrives for his session wearing all black. He closes the blinds himself before I can stop him. This city is thirsty, he says. It drinks girls like communion. I don't move. My recorder is running on silent, buried under a stack of intake forms. Did you hurt Davina Ross? I ask. His eyes gleam like wet glass. I told you already. I hurt wrists. I hurt choices. I didn't give her to the water. She gave herself. That's not an answer. You want the answer because it's your story too, he whispers. Remember Nina? Her name hits like a nail in my throat. You left her on those stairs. You let the boy walk away. I was 19, I say before I can stop myself. My voice breaks. And now you're 41, he says. Still leaving girls behind. I grip the arms of my chair. Tell me where Davina is. He leans in close, so close I can smell the clove gum he chews like a habit. If I do, will you confess yours? At 5 o'clock sharp, Marcus arrives. He bursts into the office with 2 uniforms. Malachi doesn't flinch. He just stands, lifts his hands like a man in a play, and smiles. You see? He says to me. We all perform. The police cuff him. He hums a hymn as they lead him out. 2 weeks later, Davina Ross is found alive. Not in a river, but in an abandoned house near the train tracks. Starved, shaken, but alive. She names her captor, a deacon from her church. A man who worked under Reverend Price. Malachi is charged with obstruction, witness intimidation, unlawful imprisonment, but not murder. Late summer, I sit in my mother's kitchen. Mama stirs tea with too much sugar. Tasha chops okra. The house smells of pepper and safety. Marcus calls. His voice is tired, but softer than I remember. Your client isn't the monster we thought. But he's not clean either. He knew too much. He played with it. We'll keep digging. And the girl? I ask. She testify. She wants to live. She thanked you, by the way. Me? She said your name. Said you listened to him, and that listening saved her. I hang up and cry into Mama's dish towel, and Mama doesn't ask why. One last session. Court ordered, before transfer. Malachi sits across from me. Thinner now, eyes less polished. You betrayed me, he says. I protected someone, I answer. You told your truth, he presses. Not all of it, I say. But enough, he smiles faintly. That's the difference between us. You still think part of you can stay buried. He leans forward, but the clay remembers storms. On Sunday, I take Mama to church. Not his father's church, ours. The choir sings off-key, and Mama's hat blocks half my view. I let it. I hold her hand. The storm that week is loud but brief. When the rain breaks, Atlanta gleams. In the stillness, I whisper Nina's name aloud for the first time in 20 years. And it feels like the river releasing something it has carried too long. What you just heard wasn't the full story. It was the part someone tried to bury. The part that didn't fit the headline. The part where a person, not a suspect, was lost in the process. This case showed us what happens when the system moves too fast, or not at all. When suspicion weighs more than truth. When justice shows up late, or never. But here's the thing. If these stories don't leave us asking questions, they'll keep repeating with different names. So if this one meant something to you, don't just move on. Talk about it. Question it. Pass it on, because silence protects the wrong side of history. And sometimes, the only thing standing between truth and erasure is someone who chooses to care. Like, share, comment. Let the next chapter begin with awareness, not regret.